So to start, I'm going to use a quote that I saw on a feminist IG handle, and it says, "Slut is attacking women for their right to say yes. Friend zone is attacking women for their right to say no. And bitch is attacking women for their right to call you on it." Well, you could be right about that, but I feel as though all of this is just using negative connotations for it. Like, I feel like I can find very positive uses for all of these terms. And guess what? I'm actually going to do that just so that I can show how negative a lot of these feminists tend to be. But first, we need to do something.
Get ready for the battle of the sexes.
Alright, intro tune done. Let me even get to this real quick, because I feel like this is an entirely negative statement that's meant to rile up a bunch of women so that it can make them more angry at a bunch of other guys. Because if instead of using the term attacking women as the common terminology that's used in all three statements, and you replace it with hitting it from the back, you can change this entirely and make it sound a lot more positive. So take for example, slut is what I call the woman when I am hitting it from the back and I am pulling her hair. Friend zone is where I wouldn't want to be, because that would mean that I'm busy simping around and there is another nigga who is hitting it from the back and pulling her hair. And bitch is the terminology I'm going to use when I'm busy putting my foot down when we're having an argument, which will then arouse her to a certain degree, because it does to a lot of women, and allow me to hit it from the back and guess what? Pull her hair. See? Fixed it. Made it a hell of a lot better than the way a lot of these feminists and social justice warriors usually make shit sound. So there, I fixed it. You're welcome. Sounds a lot nicer now. So now we can move things on and actually start the podcast, because I have been meaning to get this show on the road for a little bit. So let's get to it in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Breaktime on Westside, your number one breaktime podcast, coming to you from Nairobi, Kenya. The man on the mic is a man who would rather take the 500k rather than have lunch with Jay-Z. He's a man who once used to believe that MILF was a combination of milk and beef. It is none other than your tall, dark, and mildly handsome man, Sir Denver B. The show is Battle of the Sexes, our weekly love, sex, and relationships show, where I get to say something a bunch of feminists take it negatively. Usually I come to some conclusion and some people might debate it. And if you are the type to debate it, then you know what to do. I usually say it on every episode of the podcast, somewhere towards the end, and I can even bring it up here at the beginning. If you have any thoughts, comments, and or feedback, you can DM me at Breaktime on Westside is the IG handle on Instagram to hit me up on. On Facebook, it is at Breaktime on Westside as well, and on Twitter, you can slide into my personal DMs, which is at Bagaka the D, and you know, we can always have a discussion there, and I wouldn't mind having a discussion with quite a number of you, and hell, we can bring these discussions to the podcast. So if you also have any new ideas that you'd like me to discuss, you can bring it there as well. Now, I want us to get to the main topic of today, but before I do that though, I want us to talk about Kanye West for a little bit. My point of discussion is Kanye, but more so Kim K, his wife or ex-wife at this point, because there is somebody who claims that he has a unreleased sex tape of Kim K and Ray J, and he was willing and would only willingly give it to Kanye West. And this seems like a very interesting situation, you know, it seems like a very interesting claim, and unfortunately, I don't know about most of y'all, but it sounds very outdated. Not in a bad way, but it sounds very outdated. Because I remember when Kim K was the shit because of the sex tape. Like, the sex tape was interesting for a while, and people were all about that sex tape for a bit of a while. And, you know, people went in, they watched it, they enjoyed it. I've checked it out, and personally speaking, compared to a lot of the shit that you'll see on places like Pornhub, it's not really what you'd call amazing. The only wow factor is the fact that it's Kim K and the booty. But besides that, there's nothing much really to come out of it. Now, the guy does claim that the version that he has, the part 2 quote unquote as he calls it, is, you know, a lot nicer, has, you know, better looking scenes and everything. But I don't know, like, it feels very dated. Like, I feel like people monetizing off of that Kim K sex tape already came and went. So it's kind of dead news now. Like, it sounds a bit whack. And especially considering that the person who's talking about this shit is called Whack 100, I don't think it's too far out of his ballpark, because I feel like that's fairly old shit to bring back up. Although at the same time, considering that this is Ray J's former manager, I'm not too far off from thinking that it could be possible. The only thing is, I just feel like it'll just be low quality amateur porn, if anything. Like, trust me, the camera that they used during that time, I don't think they were higher than 720p, and if anything, there's a pretty good chance it was at 480p. So one, it probably won't even be clear enough for most of the TVs and the screens that we have today, and it won't even look that good. Yes, it could be more graphic. Yes, it could have more in store with it. Yes, maybe, Kim K is busy getting cum on her tits or some shit, but it won't really make it that great. Like, I feel like for most of us, we've moved past that, and we're at a level where we actually appreciate porn from porn stars. And if somebody is trying to make quote unquote amateur-ish porn, then there's definitely people that like it, but most of the time it's usually just meh. So I don't know, like, Whack 100 might actually have something, and yes, it might be on a laptop somewhere, but I honestly don't think that it would really be that arousing. Probably as a collector's item, I guess it could sell. So I don't know, I think that he'd have probably had more value with it if he sold it on auction rather than telling Kanye West that he's going to give it to him. So it just feels like a clout chase now. Like, it honestly just feels like a clout chase. Like, we haven't been giving a shit about what Kim K did on that sex tape because that shit is so old. Like, I don't even think 2000 babies have really watched it as much. Like, if you were a child or if you were a teenager and you were born in the year, 2005, you could have seen it, but there's a pretty good chance that you won't even be interested in it because, you can now get 4K porn and shit. Don't ask me how I know. So, if anything, there's just an element of somebody who's trying to bring up and dig up old memories and old shit to try and sell it back. Like, it's kind of like those movies that we usually end up watching, which are remakes of older movies, and they usually suck. And normally, we'd look at it and we're like, oh, it's a good concept, but you look at the new thing and you're like, there's nothing new to it. Or like those songs that, were old hits back in the day, and then now they end up being sampled and someone tries to recreate them and does a shit job. Like, this whole sex tape news feels like that. Like, they're trying to bring back an old story that people don't give much of a shit about, because at this level, we have so many people who have made sex tapes. We have had so many people that are busy trying to get famous off of shit that's roughly similar to what Kim K did. So shit like OnlyFans, shit like posting up nudes online and everything. That the sex tape doesn't even feel like it's worth all that. Like, you'd have to be a diehard fanatic of Kim K and be crushing on this woman for you to really give much of a damn about this entire thing. But anyways, there's definitely a bunch of people that would love to see a Kim K sex tape, so those ones are the ones that will probably hope that this guy actually releases it. Personally, I think that shit don't exist, but considering that both Ray J and Kim K were around for quite a bit of a while, they could have actually made more. But honestly, I can go and find myself a 4K version of some Kim K lookalike on Pornhub, and I can actually just jerk off to that instead. So we don't really give too much of a fuck about it. But anyways, that being said, we should probably move it on. So on to our main topic of today. Now, while I was listening to the radio about 2.5 weeks ago, there was a story that I'd heard about, and it actually came from a video that was posted up online about a certain lady talking about how she was tired of a bunch of broke niggas getting onto her DMs, trying to hit her up and take her out on dates, and she had wanted like proper men, so she had a bunch of requirements. And from things like logbooks to bank statements to the kind of car you drove to how you were supposed to dress to even a registration fee, she dropped all of those things on that video. Now, personally, I'm gonna admit I was actually supposed to talk about this video on the rant last week on Battle of the Sexes, but when I actually was doing the entire rant, I realized that I was taking too much time, so I figured, you know what, fuck it, let me bring it to this episode as a main topic because it deserves more time. All right, it deserves more time. So let me play it for you in its entirety, then I can break down everything that I feel about it. All right, so here it is.
Hi guys, I hope mmeamka poa. Na mimi niko poa na ninashukuru. Sasa nimekuja hapa kuambia, wakati nilirecord video hapa nikasema vijana waache kuninbox, wale wanasema ati mama nataka kuwekwa. I thank God cause watu wameacha kuninbox. So wale watu naona kwa inbox yangu naona ni watu wazima, na naona ni watu wanakaa kama wako na kitu. But kuna vitu required kama unanitaka. Na nataka kuwasomea baadhi ya hizo vitu. Kama utawezana utaninbox. Kuna registration fee which is 2000, una register ndio tupange mahali tutapatana. Then ukikuja utakuja na logbook na si ya gari yote, kuanzia Harrier, new model, V8, BMW, Audi, Porsche Cayenne. Hapo mmesikia mambo ya magari ni gari gani? Hizo gari kubwa kubwa. Siwezi taja hizo gari zote hapa sababu siwezi shinda nikiandika hizo majina zote, but kama uko na gari ya kuanzia 4 point ni sawa, unaweza kuja na logbook yake. Then kuna title deed. Nijue kama uko na kichaka mahali ama uko na plot mahali, ndio nijue sasa vile tutajiendelesha. Then kuna bank statement. Nataka kuona bank statement ya mtu. Then kuna M-Pesa statement for the last 6 months. Vile umekuwa ukitumia pesa yako na kuweka pesa yako, nataka kuona. Then sasa kuna kitu kingine, dressing. Mkikuja usivae polo t-shirt, official trouser na sport shoes. No, hiyo sitaki. Mambo ya dressing nitaangalia vile mtakuja. So nita create group ya WhatsApp na tawaadi nyinyi wote. Then tupange mahali tutapatana, registration fee, nitaweka pay bill, mtu aanze kutuma na majina zako zote. So ukikuja ndio utakuja na hizo vitu zako ndio niende through niangalie. Lunch, drinks, yote nitasimamia mimi mwenyewe. So nitaweka pay bill, nita create group kwa wale wote mnanini box. Kama uko na hizo vitu usinini kuja tu nitaangalia. Mimi ukikuja nione dressing yako, nione uko na hizo vitu zote na ukubali tuende tupimwe, mimi niko tayari. Siwezi kataa.
All right. Now that that's out of the way, let me try and break it down for the people that didn't understand exactly what she asked for. So essentially, for you to get on a date with her, to be a contender for her heart, for her soul, and whatever insights she might be giving, plus skills and character, you are supposed to make sure you have a logbook, or at least have a car worth 4 million and above. Preferably a new Harrier, Toyota or Lexus, I don't know, whichever one you like to get, but it has to be a car worth above 4 million. Big cars mostly. Then you also have to have a title deed, showing that you have some land somewhere, that you own, a piece of the earth on this country, at the very least. Small one or big one, she didn't specify, but at least having a title deed showing that you have some land somewhere. Then on top of that, you should be ready to carry your bank statements, your M-Pesa statements, and on the day of the date, you are expected to come dressed well. You're not supposed to have a polo shirt, official pants, and sports shoes. No, wear something that matches, wear something good. And if you are feeling like you fit that description and you want her, you can hit up on the inbox. You add your full name and mobile number, and you will be put into a WhatsApp group with all the other guys. And when the day of the date will happen, she'll get the guys around and she'll do some shit. And fortunately, with the registration fee of 2,000 bob that you're expected to pay so that you can get on that list, then she will cover for all the things that you'll be doing on the date. And I'm not gonna lie, I am pretty surprised that someone would actually ask for this, and I'd even be more surprised if guys actually would do such a thing, or at least would get on the whole contenders list that she'd have for the guys that she'd want. But well, this is the world. I'm actually not going to say that the ability for guys to actually go and hop on her DMs with this shit is impossible. I'm just saying that I'm just gonna say that the probability is going to be low. But first of all, she's not the first person to do this, because about 3 years ago, a certain lady did something exactly like this as a Tinder social experiment, And what she did is she decided to hit up around 100 guys, I think, that had hit her up on Tinder, had swiped right and everything, and had asked all of them to meet her at a certain spot. Now, at that certain spot, she had the stage and everything, and she was standing and she addressed all of them, and she actually put a lot of these guys through a couple of different tests before some of them walked away and some of them stuck through till the end. And well, it is something pretty similar to that. Go get a bunch of guys together and have them kind of compete for your favor, for a chance to be with you. Not entirely foreign, okay? So that said, I will admit that I have a bunch of mixed feelings to this. Like, I feel like there's some bits where she is rightfully justified in doing this, but I also have my thoughts on why it is I feel like this is just wrong in so many ways. But let me start with the reasons why I think she's right. I think she was rightfully justified in doing so because, one, she seemed like a fairly mature woman, and she was tired of getting a lot of DMs, a lot of texts from the quote-unquote wrong guys. So what better way to get rid of the wrong guys than to show what the kind of right guy she'd want would look like, would seem like, so that she can, kind of filter out a lot of the chaff from the wheat. And that does seem like a pretty good thing for her to do. Then also, she knows exactly what she wants. She wants a guy who is very financially stable, who's actually financially thriving, somebody who will actually pay attention to their dressing, and somebody that will actually care enough to want to go through every single man to be with her. I don't entirely believe in that statement myself, but it is what it is. Then, if anything, I think she might have a little bit of IQ. I don't think this was something that was consciously thought out, but I think she probably might have thought this through. She knows very well that the number of guys that would be able to do that wouldn't exactly be that many, which is why she decided that she's going to put all of these guys in a WhatsApp group. Now, WhatsApp groups usually have a limit of, I think, around 257 people. I don't know if they increased it, but last I checked, it was roughly around 257 people. So she knows very well that it's not a huge number of guys. It's not going to be in the thousands, so no need for a Telegram group chat. And with WhatsApp, she'll be able to get a lot of these guys to talk, and she can finally engage with them. But after this, I feel like there's so many things that are wrong. So let me even just try and put them out. One, she's really classifying guys to a very select few of them. And the worst thing about going for a certain chosen high class few is that for you as a woman to aim for such a man, you have a very limited number of options. Now, he, as a high value man, has an exponentially larger set of women that he has to choose from. And the thing is, much as you might want him, it doesn't mean that he'll necessarily want you. Like, you can be a high class woman, who makes a lot of money and shit, but it's not like your money or your status is going to deter him from looking at the intern that serves him coffee every day and thinking, you know what, I prefer this one over you. Like, the money works for us as guys, but not necessarily for you as babes. Then, secondly, in a sense, this feels like she's degrading other men to uplift her value in the social scale. Because if you can get all of these guys that want you on the virtual space and you can bring them together to a position or a point, whether physical or, virtual, and make them aware of each other such that now it's like they have to compete to get to you, it's like you're treating yourself as the prize and you're making them have to kind of quote unquote compete with each other over you. Now, I feel like that's very degrading, and even with the Tinder social experiment that was done, I think like a lot of people found that to be very degrading to guys, because you're pretty much making them jump through hoops for you for nothing. And most of the shit that's there isn't even what you need for a good marriage or for a good relationship. But in as much as you can use this to kind of filter out the number of guys that are there, who says that the number of men that would have these, qualities, that would have these possessions would want you? Like, yes, I get it. Like, I'm not gonna lie, the woman that did this video is a very light-skinned woman, and for some people, being light-skinned gives a certain increase in value, at least by some people's standards. Others will prefer melanin, others prefer a lot less. So it is what it is. But at the end of the day, like, I'm sitting back just thinking about it. For the guy that chooses to go there, for the guy that chooses to get into that WhatsApp group, like, what exactly would you think? Like, would you think that, oh, this is gonna be an ideal wife because, you know, she has high standards, so she's gonna be aiming for the best, and if she marries me, then she's gonna be, you know, completely loyal to me? Like, who says that that could be true? Because the biggest issue with this entire video, the biggest issue with this entire set of demands is that much as she's saying what she wants, she's not saying what she's offering or what she's got. And when you start playing around with the dating market and you're starting to talk about what you'd want, then you have to be able to back that up with what you've got. So if, for example, you have this guy that's saying that he wants a babe that will always look good, you know, that'll always have an amazing body, that'll always take care of herself, has 0 stretch marks, has the most flawless skin, and, you know, knows how to throw it back but knows how to be a boss, then people will come up to you and be like, all right, do you have something to back that up? Like, what makes you think that you'd want such a woman? And say maybe you're just a dusty guy with some messed up shoes who's super broke and barely even has a job. Like, if you say that, obviously, if you're saying that with the guys, that they'll burst out and laugh at you. Hell, if you're a guy and you're saying that and there's women around, they'll burst out and laugh at you because you have incredibly high expectations and you have nothing to back up for it. And it's the same thing here. You will find that this woman is only talking about what she wants, but she's not talking about what she's giving. She wants all of these guys to do all of this shit and include a registration fee of 2,000 bob, which obviously, if she is paying for that date, then that money has to come from somewhere. But she's going to do all of this and offer what? Because if she's going to be a trophy wife, then I'm sure you can get trophy wives that are younger, that are hotter, that, you know, are a lot more natural. Like, there's a lot more options that you have as a guy. So maybe instead of some of the guys choosing to go and throw themselves there, they can continue looking for a lot of the young babes that are out there. Or they can actually look for a babe that shows what she has to offer instead of just talking of what she wants. That's what I think. But in conclusion, I honestly don't think there's gonna be guys that'll, you know, hop into her DMs with all of that shit, because I honestly feel like if you're a guy that has cars worth over 4 mil, that has title deeds, and that has pretty nice looking bank statements and M-Pesa statements, I don't think you're really looking forward to settling with her while you have a lot of other options. Maybe there might be. And the unfortunate bit is, even though there are, I really can't say much about them because they're the ones that choose to go ahead and degrade themselves that way. And if you're into that kind of thing, then I guess, you know, all the best to you. But at least I know, if anything, I don't qualify on so many of those levels, and even though I did, I still wouldn't be ready to put up that registration fee. And if anything, even though I could do all of that, I don't really think I put my precious time, effort, and resources into getting somebody whose eyebrows I can rub off by putting some saliva on my hands and applying a bit of force. But anyways, that's just me. I want to know what you think. Are you the type of person that would go for this woman? Do you think this woman is completely delusional? Hit me up. I want to know. The DMs are always open. On Instagram, it is at Breaktime on Westside. On Facebook, it is also at Breaktime on Westside. And on Twitter, you can slide into my personal DMs, which is at Bagaka the D. Thank you so much for listening all the way till the end. And if you are listening via Castbox, feel free to drop your thoughts and comments below, and I will attend to them accordingly. And I will catch you guys on the next break.